I love Mike Hanson Archives.
You ready to run?
You know how it used to be anti-government extremist, right-wing. There's actually, Alex, settle down. There's actually a new term in town.
The anti-government thing didn't go over too well because the way the government's been behaving, anti-government describes the way most people feel.
Right, but now there's a new term in town. It's called domestic terrorism. Now, when we get to these news clips, you'll see it. I'm just wondering where they're going to go from here. Is it going to be
Devil dogs?
Yeah, the hell children. Hell children, devil dogs.
Jeff, before we forget to do this, and I know we'll do it later in the program, it's something we've been meaning to do for weeks.
First off, Terry, I appreciate you having us on the program.
You bet.
I think these news clips will tell it all what we're talking about.
But most people, when you see a black helicopter fly by in the news, and I mean that's
we're getting.
We used to shoot bottle rockets up at them, but never mind.
But the thing that we have to understand now we have to be serious now.
Right.
Here's the thing. Domestic terrorism, folks. This is the new term in town. Now, I submit to you that yes, there are domestic terrorists in this country. It's not Jeff Davis. It's not Alex Jones.
Oh, wait, before you identify
not Terry Liberty Park.
Don't identify him yet. We're going to have a little dramatic build-up for that, because this term domestic terrorism is being used to justify building the police state.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, the news clip you're going to show was Channel 24 reporting on how the police apparatus at the state, federal, and local level is learning how to communicate and all that kind of stuff.
Exactly.
And no, that's all right. No, just leave it this way. It'll actually work. The reason that they're having to do all this coordination is to catch domestic terrorists.
like Jeff Davis.
Yeah. Well, that's. Let's take. I don't know. Do you want to introduce?
Let's just go ahead and take a look at there's actually a news clip and then
And again, it's 472 call. Call in, and we'll take your calls here pretty soon.
And let's go with the three little news clips we have, and then I'll define and all of us here.
The news story, the retraction and the retraction, and I feel that these retractions are even more attacks.
That they will be dangerous, that they have a different political philosophy that says that law enforcement in the state of Texas or in the United States is not legal and that they cannot be legally stopped.
Durham is a member of a national task force on domestic terrorism, a crime no longer limited to the federal level. Now all officers face the challenge. It can happen during a routine traffic stop.
Okay.
When they see that paper tag or no front tag on the vehicle, or they go in and they see a militia sticker, they must exercise all caution in approaching those vehicles.
Texas has just recently set up an intelligence gathering system which collects info on possible acts of domestic terrorism. That information is then shared with all law enforcement agencies. Experts say militia movements are usually led by a charismatic leader. Militia members make use of the internet and other public access to argue their case and to gather support. Often, that support comes from other out-of-state militia groups. Despite the end of the siege, the arrest and recent conviction of Richard McLaren, Republic of Texas members are still active.
We blacked out the picture of Jeff's producers that they showed a picture of, and there's been a lot of other news stories. That was the first unsolicited, and the important point is, and we'll get into this later, is the day after this story saying we got to watch out for these people, they're dangerous. Mike, Jeff's producer's wife, was pulled over. She wasn't given a ticket because her car was all in order, and asked about where she worked, where her husband worked, if they had family in law enforcement. Yes, they do. They were asked about firearms. They were asked about militias. They were intimidated like Nazis would intimidate Jews on the side of the...
Was she asked to show her papers?
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. The driver's license, inspection sticker.
Papers, please. Are you involved in
Okay, let's go ahead. All right, so now Mike, your producer on your show, ran up to the station and gave him what for and said, you better do a retraction because you just labeled us as the kind of domestic terrorists that the government is now cranking up to be a police state in order to protect us from.
That's
they basically slapped the violent label on him by having his picture.
And we've discussed this before, Terry. The piece actually bothered me so much because, like we said, it was probably just sloppy journalism. It wasn't a deliberate.
I'm thinking that, yeah.
Okay, but that doesn't. But the point is, to me, it's just a story and it's jest. What is this? What is this thing about collecting information? I don't understand what that means.
We'll get
what
to
are
that.
These terms?
Let's see the retraction. Yeah.
Roll that sucker. Here we go, guys.
How law enforcement is dealing with domestic terrorism. In the story, we unintentionally showed video of an independent TV producer while we talked about out-of-state militia groups. This producer tells us he is not affiliated with any militia groups, and we regret any confusion this may have caused.
Okay.
Now, that retraction does
We can
nothing
just go to the second one, Gary.
to what they showed the photographs. Yeah, here's the second retraction.
If we could just go to the second one here.
I don't know if they're set up for that, but basically...
Yeah, he is. He's all ready to go with it. This was the one that was done the next day before the incident that took place that Alex was talking about. 472 call.
You sure?
Clarification tonight on a story we ran in our 6 o'clock newscast yesterday. The story showed how law enforcement is dealing with domestic terrorism. In that story, we unintentionally showed video of a producer with the Jeff Davis show while we talked about out-of-state militia groups. This producer is not affiliated with any militia groups or the Republic of Texas, and we regret any confusion this may have caused.
Keeping kids safer, that's exactly.
Keeping kids safe, you know, that's always the next story. Everything's for the children. Air is in the atmosphere because we're helping the children and the government is helping the children.
Okay,
so
before I want to make sure that I get my point. That's
Tell the
really all
story.
I've got.
and 472 call. Let the phone ring. We'll answer you on the
This
air.
is really all I've got to say about it. They've now gone from anti-government extremist. They've now got a new phrase, Terry. It's now called domestic terrorist.
And,
Okay.
and that's going to be justification for violating a lot of the Constitution,
Right.
setting up a lot of police state measures.
Because
that
it is
state,
an
local, and
it's an
federal-
emergency,
And let
Terry.
me
emergency.
just submit one thing to the viewers of this program.
All right.
We do have
Domestic terrorists, yes.
right here in America.
We're going to identify them right here on this
we're
show.
going to identify them. It's people who go in and murder 80-some people in Waco, Texas.
15, 16, 17 of them
Go
children.
in and shoot a 13-year-old kid in the back
Vicky,
at Ruby Ridge, Idaho.
Ricky Weaver.
You know, the loving IRS that seizes over 300,000 houses per year
They've got to do it for children.
taxes.
It's for the children.
We
Jeff.
do have domestic terrorists in this country. Unfortunately, they've been improperly identified. It's not Jeff Davis or anybody sitting here. We do have domestic terrorism going on right here.
They
in
have
America.
uniforms, they have badges, they operate under color of
Color
law.
of law, that's
And in the case of that TV producer we were just talking about, his wife was stopped by one of these domestic terrorists
Loving.
who was so effective in his terrorism that she was too scared to even get his badge number.
She was shaken.
She was shaken.
Out in the rain.
Because the ordinary person, when
They
they're
pulled her over
stopped,
twice. It was 2 miles from her home. They were waiting for her. They knew that she had family in law enforcement. They knew her whole history, where she worked. They were only asking to harass her, and then they let her go. Followed her another mile closer to her house, a mile from her home. Pulled her over the second time. This is akin to Nazi Germany.
472 call, and lest anybody be uncertain about this, you don't defend good law enforcement by protecting bad policy. And folks, when the ordinary citizen, and think about this yourself, if you're stopped by a cop, do you feel secure, reassured, or in today's environment,
Intimidated.
do you feel intimidated? If that's the case, if you feel intimidated, guess what? You're being subjected to domestic terrorism. All right,
Can I just bring one other
all
thing
right.
here real quick?
472 call.
The lines are jammed,
they've
Terry.
admitted,
And that
no,
lights, there's somebody there too, that lights.
Yeah.
Terry, maybe I don't understand something, but I want to make. They admitted that they are now gathering. They have an they use it as the term information gathering system.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to know in America, where ideas and opinions are supposed to be expressed freely, what does that mean?
Well, it means the government. See, when you and I try to get information, we don't have the authority, nor do we want it, to intimidate somebody, scare them with the possibility of putting them in jail or physical coercion to extract information
just
out of
shows-
them. But the government does have that, and it uses that to extract information, and now they're sharing this information
Terry.
that they acquired coercively. They're not telemarketers calling you and asking you up. When the government does it, they get the information or you go to jail, and now they're going to be sharing this information, state, federal, and local. Why? For domestic terrorists who are supposed to be somebody other than them.
Well, Jeff,
Right, that's right.
Terry and Jeff,
Well said.
Well,
Terry and Jeff, the thing we're talking about here is the atmosphere that we're in. We're now in an atmosphere where they're not worried about 120 nuclear weapons missing from Russia. They're not worried about Chinese spies under the behest of the president being let into our national security computers. They're not concerned with the IRS violating people. They're concerned with Jeff Davis and others, and me, having access TV shows, having FM radio shows. That's who they're worried about. You know, Jeff doesn't even own a firearm. He has 2 chihuahuas, a lovely wife, and 2 children. And I heard you may have a butter knife or 2, and you may even have a carving knife for turkey.
For cutting meat.
Yeah. So, subverted and controlled.
I think this domestic terrorism term is
label.
Probably the most blatant they've...
Next, it'll be blood-drinking Satan worshiper.
472 call. All right, we're going to try to roll through these tests, and we'll try to be quick on our responses here. Yes, caller.
Yes, hello?
Yes.
Yes, I don't know what it is, but I really seem to enjoy masturbating to your show.
Again,
Hey,
that's
you're going to do well in the police state. All right, now...
That's what the public
Whitmer, are you
school
still
has
there?
done. Public schools have done that. He's gone.
No kidding. Saturday night, and the guy is masturbating to our show. Now, I had to stop you guys from going out to bars and stuff to be here. All right, okay. All right, yes, caller.
You disconnected me. Okay, I'm glad.
I didn't do it.
All right.
Go ahead.
I saw you. Hey, I got television.
No, you saw my hand over here. I didn't do it.
We're bad.
Yeah, I just want to know the difference between the Civil War days when it was your choice to own a human being. And
The difference between that and what we're talking about? Sure. You got it. Did you hear the premise that I talked about at the beginning of the show here?
No, I didn't.
All right, let me put it out there again. You're free to do anything you want so long as you don't initiate or do a credible threat to initiate physical force against the person or justly acquired possessions of another. That's it. You're free to do anything you want other than that.
Terry, let me say one thing real fast. We have these open to the public free seminars the last Sunday every month at the Chariot Inn. You speak there, and you have a very good audience there to see you. What we talk about is freedom. Freedom to do what you wish to do as long as it doesn't violate somebody else. Just like Terry just said, there are African Americans, there are Hispanics, there are Asians, there are whites, there are old people, young people, there are short-haired, crew-cut military people, there are people with nose rings, there are topless dancers there. They're not topless when they're there, unfortunately, but everybody's there. Everybody. This is the most diverse crowd you could create. Domestic terrorist. I mean, these are very evil people. And they're there talking about government systems being involved, not being apathetic. Very dangerous.
I think that you mentioned it earlier, Terry, when we talked to you, that this government now has become so abusive and it's
so intrusive.
It's such in debt now to collect its to pay for its operations.
That's my point. The pro-choice people were evil. They had slavery back then, and now the pro-choice people run roughshod over everybody else.
The pro-choice people? What the hell are you talking about, man?
Pro-choice is won the war.
Boy, you're really on top of things. I'm seeing you've been programmed by the government.
Now,
I watch y'all. I don't.
Is that your issue? Is abortion your issue?
10 years. So
Could you comment on the police state?
Yeah, we're talking about the police state.
I watch what they do.
Well, Terry's pro-choice.
I didn't do that.
Yeah, people are sick of you. Terry's pro-choice. I don't know what you're talking about.
Thank you, caller.
Again, the buzzwords.
Going to prison. You're going to prison.
Hey, that was a domestic terrorist. That was a domestic terrorist. He was
why?
trying to terrorize us. He's a domestic.
He's much
All
less.
right, yes. I missed one. Sorry, I'll get back to you.
Oh, I got a vote for you fat fuck.
Oh, really a lot of loving callers.
Love neighborly callers.
Thank you, caller. Are you there?
Look, this is
Release the call.
I'm glad we can all laugh
That's a
about
relief.
this because let me tell you something. If you allow one person or a group of people to be exterminated,
You're next.
yeah, the bell may toll for you one day.
They don't think that far in the future. Yes, caller. Are you a crank caller, or are you actually going to talk about the issue?
Well, it's coming out
Jamming. The domestic terrorists are jamming.
just
Yes.
like you found.
Yeah. Yes, caller.
Hello.
Yes.
Hey, Terry. Hey, Alex. Hey, Jeff.
How you doing?
Well, you forgot one entity that really has a lot of control over the information that is given out there.
The loving universities?
No, well, that too, but the insurance companies.
$12.2 trillion in 1996 just in life insurance, and people would argue that most of that money is being paid out in claims. Well, we all know if we're on board a ship, the Lusitania, the Titanic, whichever you choose, the Maine, it's not who's on board the ship, it's who sails the ship. It's the captain. So yes, they pirate, they control this money, and they always cycle it back into more fascism, more control, more government control.
Well, I'm not talking about the money. I'm talking about the information. I mean...
Oh, it's a very great gathering.
Well, you got to understand that first off, you have government licensed media. That's
bureaus of propaganda.
Yeah, government's plus many of the huge corporations that buy advertising. It's kind of a little network between the government licensing and the corporation.
It's a loving.
And
it's meant to keep small people out of business, big people in business.
They tell you what they want you to hear, and that's what's interesting about all of this.
Well, I think the caller's point is that the insurance companies have a lot of confidential information. The difference, caller,
it's not confidential, though, Terry.
Say again?
It's not confidential.
They sell that information.
They sell that information.
Caller, the difference is that you volunteered to give the information to an insurance company. When the government gets information about you, you didn't volunteer.
But he's saying now that
the difference between information that is extracted
by force.
He's
saying that the insurance companies now, some of the biggest ones, are unrecognizable from the government, and that they both share information.
That point should be made, right?
Yes.
Well, that point should be made that the government coerces insurance companies into falling in line, or else they're not allowed to operate. So what started as a private entrepreneurial venture, things like insurance companies, which should have been totally private enterprise and have no power to get information from you, and certainly should be able to protect that information. Now the government takes the position that it can extract by force any information that it decides it wants, and now it's going to share it at the state and federal, local level. Why? Because there's domestic terrorists.
It's all.
But somehow that's not the government.
Yes. And, this is to help us.
Yeah, this is to help us. It's always in our best interest.
Yes, caller.
Terry, when I'm talking about the insurance companies, and you talked about it, they're not getting it through coercion. Yes, it's voluntary. I mean, when you sign up for automobile or health or life insurance, there are specific questions that have to be answered, and those answers are given somewhat confidentially, whether to a either an insurance agent for auto. Doctor, that information is contained in your file for life.
Let me ask you: did you happen to see the news clips we ran earlier?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Do you happen to know those little catchy phrases that they use?
Oh, like domestic terrorist? Or?
Yeah, for anybody.
Charismatic leader, dangerous.
That doesn't like big brother government.
Out of state militia. You're out of state.
Yeah.
Let me.
We're headed. I think we're.
I want to ask the caller. I want to ask the caller, and I want to ask both y'all a question.
Remember, we got a real short time.
I understand. We'll just real fast.
Yeah.
I want
to. By the way, callers, if you don't get it said here, there's going to be a show. Are you still going to be on Bo Henry's?
Yep.
Okay.
10 to 11:30.
And what channel?
10 or 16. I'm not sure.
Okay. Cable channel 10 or 16. It's also a call. He's doing it as a call-in, right?
I guess. Yeah. I don't know.
You know, actually, Bo Henry's show is, I think, called Semantics. So if you don't get it in here, you can still call there.
This is actually the wrong folder.
And also, you guys both have shows, so they can call you.
Hey, Alex, you don't have my file there, do you?
Yes, I do. I'm not like the government.
Yeah, no, but did you give it to him voluntarily?
Let me ask the caller a question, y'all. What do you think about how they started thumb scanning in '93? It was an executive order from '92, and now in late '98, supposedly, if states with their highway funds have to start.
I got a removable thumb.
Yeah.
Just for that reason.
Yeah, but what about urine? What about urine and blood testing? They're going to start that soon for everybody.
Oh yeah.
Is that not invasion of privacy?
Well, you talk about thumb scanning, or like when you go get your checks now, if you're not a member of that bank, you put your thumbprint.
Well, I don't even mean that with a private interest, like a bank. I mean the government's been thumb scanning it since '93 in Texas. Most states are doing it, and now Clinton wants urine and blood testing to get a driver's license. I mean, it's just soon they'll want to stick their hand up our ass. I mean, you know,
they're already doing that.
Yeah.
Well, that's what makes the puppets the puppets.
Yep.
I submit we're in they're very dangerous times right now. What's your first name?
He'd
rather not.
He's all right.
I submit that we're in very dangerous times.
I agree with you, and it's funny because I mean I feel sorry for the producer's wife that was pulled over. I didn't catch exactly what their reason for pulling her over was.
The policeman said that she didn't come to a full stop. Now wait a minute. In the course of investigating that she didn't come to a full stop, he wanted to know where did her husband work.
All right.
Yeah. Huh? Well, you know,
is she part of a militia?
And this was the day after that news piece.
Saying, watch out, these people are dangerous.
Was it Austin Police Department that pulled her over, or was
Yeah.
it sheriff?
Yes, it was.
Yeah,
Austin Police.
and I will say there are people who try to be good cops.
Yeah.
They're being edged out
Yeah.
by the thugs and bullies that will apply for these jobs, that will apply for the badge when the definition of the badge is no longer to serve and protect.
Oh, exactly. Well, they
but
took that off the
But
card.
to enforce the law mindlessly with no conscience of your own.
Terry,
There is a difference. There are two types of law
Hold on.
people. One is consistent with the American spirit of freedom. The other one is the representation of a fascist
Terry,
police state.
Terry, great point.
And they are deserving of no respect.
Just 10 years
not even
ago,
self-respect.
just 10 years ago, most police cars in
Had
most
to
counties and
protect and
states
serve on them.
had protect and serve.
Yep.
Now it is thin blue line. It is government against the people.
Yep, and that's where I look at him. I go, how come y'all took that off? You know.
It's loving. It's
But
never-
hey, Terry, I agree with your it's a correct definition of freedom. Unfortunately, if people haven't woken up, I mean, that's been long gone. We live in a socialist capitalist state now.
Socialism for the elite.
it's much-
Socialism for everybody else.
It's much worse than that.
Yeah.
I won't get into it.
Caller, let me
Hey,
give some of the others a chance.
Yeah,
Appreciate your call.
Y'all have a good night.
Take care, buddy.
God bless.
I want to
So they
say
can
that
stay right.
I want to say that we'll identify the things that are wrong and bad, some of the things that we can see, but don't make the mistake of following naively the master's agenda of being so immobilized and paralyzed by fear. You know, the first reaction that most people have to being told about stuff like this is, no, can't be, denial. Second reaction is, oh my God, it's true, and it's overwhelming. There's nothing we can do about it.
No, we can work together.
And then the third reaction, of course, is, I don't know what can be done, but by golly,
I'm
we're
gonna
not
find
going to
some
take
solutions.
this territory without a
some
fight.
solutions.
Well, here's the thing, though, Terry. I think it's proper to believe that we can win, turn this thing around.
We can. We are
But then
winning.
again, if you underestimate the enemy, then you could fall into a trap.
And plus, the enemy can try to tell you to be pragmatic and mix you in with a bunch of lies. And
That's the way I
and then
approach
you say, oh, well, we can deal with it. We can work in the system. We got to totally revamp and tear down the system and get us back to a representative democracy.
Before I get on to some more of these callers, again, you guys are going to be on
10 to 11:30. 10 to 11:30
tonight.
Channel 10 or 16. I'm
10
not
or
sure.
16.
I
It's
think
also a call-in. When is your show, Alex?
It's Tuesday nights, 8:30 to 11.
And people can call
Channel
in there
10.
too.
Tuesday night, 8:30 to 11.
And people can call in.
It's live.
And Jeff is
Monday, Channel 10, 7 to 8:30 p.m.
All right. So basically, people.
Can I put out my comment line about any of this? Okay, folks. Let me just quickly say.
Yeah.
If you have any information,
News stories.
If you want a copy of a free newsletter, 370-9558. 370-9558. That's also linked in with the seminars. So if they want any information on the seminars, they can do that as well.
And of course, if you've got a computer and a modem, Liberty BBS has been operating for years. 462-1776. It's free. 462-1776. You use your computer and modem to call there. You can get all kinds of information about all kinds of things. And
Terroristic activity.
Yeah, terroristic activity.
Yeah, and also, if you actually want a physical, warm body face to look at, every Sunday evening at 8th and Congress, Hickory Street Bar and Grill, we have informal discussion down there. It's a libertarian informal discussion, but you don't have to be a libertarian to show up there.
I think it'd be safe to say that your BBS is now part of that domestic terrorism information system.
Yes, caller, quickly.
Well, that's
I don't know what he said.
Brother.
You're
on the air.
Caller, are you there? You know, I think that line might
It's a
be
bad
dead.
line. Let's
Yeah,
go
it's
to-
a bad line. You're right. Okay, yes, caller.
Yeah, I want to know how you feel about the legalization of marijuana.
Repeal all drug prohibition. The government has no business telling you what you can do with your body. It's your body. It doesn't belong to the government.
They also have no business
shipping it in.
bringing it all in here.
I am for decriminalization, not absolute legalization, and it's a fact that the CIA and the FBI and the BATF
before they
and the Drug Enforcement Agency, they are all involved in bringing these drugs in. Police officers, CIA agents have all told me this. It's out of control, guys. Look what Prohibition created in the 20s. It created giant
alcohol prohibition.
Gangs fighting each other on the streets.
The bottom line is, before they tell us what we can put in our bodies, they need to get out of the business of bringing it in here.
That's right. They want to jack the price up, though. That's what it's about.
Caller, let me give some more people a chance.
Okay.
All right, thanks. I'm going to say one other thing, too.
I need to get an hour and a half show, and that'd be 45.
We just got the last couple of minutes. Hang on here. Look, the government is acting like a jealous lover who's losing their lover. Here's what's happened. The government has divorced itself from the Constitution and the ideals from which it sprung. In the process, guess what else got divorced? The people from the government. The government is complaining that the people are like disaffected and losing their identity with the government, while the government continues to divorce itself from the Constitution. So what happens? Just like an insecure lover, they start getting controlling in an effort to get the people back. And guess what the people are doing? Exactly what you do when you crack down.
Become a domestic terrorist.
Well, no, the government is domestic terrorist. We just want to be free.
In the last 2 minutes, I just want to say one little 10-second comment.
Quickly.
People will then counter, the people that have been brainwashed by UT professors and people, they will then counter that, well, you know, the Constitution's an old document, 220 plus years. I would counter to them.
That's why I said the ideals it sprung
Hold on. I would counter this. What we're following now is Rome or Babylon. It's old fascism.
2,000 years old.
It's thug rule. So I think what we were following was a lot newer idea than what we are following.
All right, let me try it. I lost my place.
Line 2.
Yeah.
Hold on there.
You there?
Hey.
Quick.
I just want to tell you a little story about me and APD. I was making delivery.
We've only got a few seconds.
Real fast.
Do it fast. Do it fast.
Well, my car got searched because I had $200 in my pocket, and the cop told me that's why they searched my car.
Did they seize your cash? That's going on now, too.
Asset forfeiture seizure. You're no longer innocent until proven guilty. If you have money, they will take it. It's for the government. They're loving. It's for your...
I'm sorry. Yes, caller, quick.
You're all going to prison.
Okay.
We probably are.
You're all going to die. Sometime on. All right, so you guys are going to be on Bo Henry's show, Semantics, later on tonight, 11 or 10 o'clock to 11:30 on cable channel 10 or 16.
Well, I'm not sure. I forget. He's my producer. He's a great guy.
Libertarian Informal Discussion Group at Hickory Street Bar and Grill, 8th in Congress. Sunday evenings from about 7-ish onward. People come and go at different times. It's an informal discussion.
A lot of nice people.
Quickly, when is your show on? When is his show on? Yes. Quickly.
It is on Tuesday nights, 8:30 to 11.
And my show is Monday nights on Channel 10, 7 to 8:30 p.m.
Guys,
God bless you, Ted.
I want to say one thing.
Now,
Long live the Constitution and death to the New World Order.
Very lively. If you don't take control of your life, somebody else will.
That's right.
Come on, anybody want to come up here? All right, that's it. All right, who wants to lead? Let Gene go. Go ahead. Yes, sir. All right. God bless the Republic.